The sneaker culture is dead, and unfortunately there is no chance of revival.
That's probably the biggest reason why sneaker culture is dead.
Sneaker culture right now is horrible, in my opinion.
Is the sneaker culture dying?
In the 80s, where the Air Jordan line was released and where sneaker culture truly began, the art of camping outside for hours, the art of having genuine interactions with people that share the same passion as you, the art of just paying retail for a shoe, and the art of getting jumped because you're paid extra less have for the most part been lost to time. The reasoning for buying shoes has shifted from a cultural focus, like a story behind the shoes or them just looking nice, to the resale of these are high, so I have to cop these. In the current day, sneaker culture seems to be dominated by pasty suburban 12-year-olds that claim they made it out of the trenches by sitting when they bought and absolutely eating up stock. I'm sure everyone see the images of these exact people with just hella shoes behind them. People still talk about the culture with people that share the passion on forums such as the r/sneakers subreddit, but it isn't uncommon to see people venting the frustrations of the ongoing resale issue that is affecting people that are genuinely into sneakers. One thing that does seem to have stood the test of time is getting jumped for your shoes. Only thing is, it probably makes you want to kill yourself because you paid 10 times retail for them. And I'm sure you're asking how sneaker culture has shifted into its current state, and my job is to answer that question and more in this video. The main thing that a majority of people seem to have a gripe with is the portion of the people within the community that only see shoes as things to be resold as and have zero attachment to the culture itself. The people fueling this fire are none other than the suppliers themselves, with the help of some external factors. Let me explain. We'll take Nike and Travis Scott as examples. Over time, there's been a trend of if a shoe has a low stock number, which it usually does, and is inspired by someone influential, in this case Travis, the resale price on it is basically guaranteed to be high. Production cost for one Air Jordan 1 is $16.25, which is extremely cheap. Nike could produce tons theoretically, which leads to the question of why would stock be so low? For a very simple reason: to build hype. Over time, Nike has realized that people love exclusivity, the prospect of having what other people can't get. Limited quantities are very appealing to people that want to feel like their wardrobe and style is unique. This happened time and time again with nice Jordan 1 colorways or collabs, the Union ones, the Cause 4s, the Fragment ones, Bread ones, and countless other shoes. The stock number for the Travis Scott ones was roughly 106k. Travis has millions of loyal fans, and there are tons of people who just like the colorway. If you have half a brain, you could probably see where this is going. A very large amount of people who wanted these shoes were unable to get them, but people that had these shoes were willing to let them go for just a little bit over retail. The profit margins on some of these shoes is genuinely mind-blowing, and it's obvious that people are catching on, as the sneaker resale market was worth an estimated $6 billion in 2019, a figure that I'm sure has only increased over time. If this happened once in a while, then I'm sure that the situation at hand would not be anywhere near as bad, but unfortunately that isn't the case. If you go on StockX and look at the price charts for Jordan 1s and 4s, these two in particular because these silhouettes seem to be the most quote-unquote trendy, you will understand. Because of the artificial supply constraints, demand has exploded upwards, and people are perceiving sneakers as more as an investment to hold rather than just something you put on your feet. And because of COVID, the only way people are able to cop shoes is through websites, which bots absolutely dominate, and apps like this accursed program. I'll expand on these in the next segment. It's at a stage where people value how good a shoe is based purely on resale, not how it actually looks. I am pretty much convinced that Nike could release a teaser of possibly the worst shoe ever created, like straight up arse cheeks, literal doo-doo butter, but if the stock numbers are low and fucking Gandhi is involved, I can guarantee that people say, oh yeah, these are kind of growing on me, they look kind of clean. If you want to get a pair of shoes online without the use of a third-party program, you have two main options: raffles, where you enter a draw for a chance to purchase shoes, and first come first serve, which is what it sounds like. You'll be competing with an extremely large volume of people for a chance at the shoe, a good proportion of which using bots as they've become increasingly popular. But not only that, sometimes you have to compete against the fucking website itself, though it's not too common. Sneakers, which is Nike's own app for the more exclusive releases, is notorious for fucking users over with in-app bugs. If you look at Twitter right after a drop, you can understand the pain that people go through just to get a chance to cop a pair of shoes. As I was saying earlier, you have to compete with bots, which in my opinion are a very large influencer of this entire situation. They take a fair bit of setup and money to run, but once you've set them up, you essentially press a button that allows you to simulate an amount of people, usually going upwards in the hundreds, to cop multiple pairs of shoes. Bots have been increasingly popular as of late due to more and more people getting fed up of taking L's and people that just want to make money. You may not be the first that started posting live cops, but I'd say the main person that exposed botting to a mainstream audience is Butterboy Nova, who essentially works through setting up bots for his drops and shows how much profit he makes on a day-to-day basis. Other than YouTube, there are social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook and Instagram that serve to perpetuate and encourage the resell mentality. Even if you do cop a pair for yourself, the fact that you could potentially sell a pair for a month's worth of rent is extremely tempting. Because of sneakers as a whole gaining more traction, it's inevitable that people realize that it's a way to make money and get inspired by people such as Butterboy Nova and Benjamin Kicks, a notorious reseller. Because of this, people may feel the need to gatekeep sneakers, but it kind of just breeds toxicity within the community. A company such as StockX, who serves as a middleman for people that want to buy and sell sneakers and hype clothing, took advantage of the wave of resellers and hypebeasts that wanted to buy shit. They were founded in 2015, where it really began to snowball. As of April this year, the company is stated to be worth $3.8 billion. Another thing that prevents the average Joe from being able to cop shoes is backdooring. It's when a store manager of a shoe shop, a Foot Locker for example, reserves pairs of shoes from a already limited stock to sell them for higher than retail. This of course is extremely scummy. There's been a case of Nike warning retailers to cut supply off completely if they continue, but I don't know if any further action has been taken. Online retailers are constantly putting anti-bot measures in place, but you'd think these bot devs are on crack how they just get around them. Some retailers such as Offspring here in the UK go above and beyond to mitigate the amount of resellers, from having extremely intricate requirements to enter raffles to not selling shoes with a box. Fucking hell. I know there was also a case with the Manila 4s, a very limited shoe, where people were forced to wear these shoes and play basketball right after purchasing them. I'm assuming this was done to dissuade resellers, as resale prices drop drastically when these shoes are on dead stock. All of this to me shows that retailers themselves are aware of the resale problem and are making efforts to try and stop it, but if the main supplier isn't doing anything to crack down on the problem at heart because it seems to serve their business model well, then it probably all just feels a bit futile. Manual users end up getting absolutely fucked because of the sheer volume of people that use bots, and it's pretty much impossible to cop a pair of shoes without paying resale for them. A lot of people will still miss out on pairs because paying resale just isn't an option, which means people begin taking alternative methods. If you missed a drop and still want the pair of shoes, you have three paths to take. 1. Buying shoes for resale, 2. Botting releases yourself or getting someone to bot for you, and 3, which is the one that seems to grow more and more in terms of popularity as time goes on, buying replicas or fake versions of these shoes. If a shoe that you want wasn't that hyped up, it'll probably only be a little over retail on a site like StockX. If a shoe that you do like was hyped up, then you're going to be paying a pretty good amount, and the buyer's regret is probably suicidal. This leaves 2 other options. Botting isn't necessarily a guaranteed way to secure pairs, but your chances are drastically increased. You do have to consider that the price of some bots are genuinely insane. You see, people use bots to resell shoes, but people also resell the bots themselves because all the good ones are sold out. The prices range from anywhere from $100 for a low-end bot to anywhere from $6 to $12k resale. On top of that, you have to account for other things apart from the bot that cost a lot of money, so again, this option subscription may not be feasible for a lot of people just because of the sheer amount of money it costs, which leaves the last path, buying replica shoes. I just want to preface this by saying honestly I support people buying reps. Paying 10 times retail for what essentially is just a StockX tag to me will always just be kinda stupid. With all that being said, reps have absolutely exploded in popularity. Rep sneakers is the main subreddit for getting to know where to buy reps, legit checks, and people showing the quality of the reps. It was founded in 2014 and saw a steady growth up to mid-2020 where it saw a very large amount of it. I can attribute the growth of reps to the growth of sneakers themselves. Now when you hear of fakes you probably think of the fraudants, or the feezies, or the mics. Oh my fucking god. But rep producers have gotten to the point where they are damn near 1-to-1, if not better because of Nike's poor quality control. Even legit checking apps or legit checkers themselves have gotten their ankles broken by the quality of the reps, and because of this there's an absolutely obscene amount of people now beginning to wear them. The quality is extremely high, the price point is lower than retail, let alone resale. The quality is so high in fact that people are trying to sell them and pass them as real. There are also people that get mad at other people that buy reps because they claim it's like an insult to the culture. But in my eyes, what Nike is currently doing can also be seen as an insult to the culture too. This is what happens when you push away loyal customers in order to generate hype through artificial means. Ironically enough, Nike has actually taken fairly serious measures in order to stop rep producers, teaming up with the US border control and seizing around 1.3 billion in reps. It's kinda sad to see that Nike only cares when their profits are directly being affected, which shows how much they truly care about the people that are loyal to their brand. But at the end of the day, I guess they are a business and it's their bottom line to make profit, but it's still kind of amusing to see. To answer the question of what is the current problem with sneaker culture, we have to look at the suppliers, the resellers, and the people buying these shoes from resellers. When I was doing research on the topic, I was seeing an overwhelming amount of people absolutely trashing on resellers, and in my opinion I don't really think it's that deserved. You do also have to look at the people buying shoes from the resellers. It boils down to simple supply and demand. Resellers see it as a pretty reliable to make money and it doesn't take much effort, so they don't really have any reason to stop. If people stop being willing to spend an extra $500 on a pair of sneakers, then resellers would be absolutely cooked. But this won't happen because people will always want to buy something that seems exclusive, or people that genuinely like a shoe just happen to have a lot of money. Both parties thrive off of each other, but at the end of the day Nike is thriving off of both. Yes, you can blame resellers and yes, you can blame the people that are buying from them, but by far the main party that should hold the blame is Nike. Resellers only exist because of the situation Nike has intentionally created. In terms of the solutions that could solve the current predicament, the most obvious one is just a simple increase in supply. I've also heard of something like a pre-order system, so anyone that pre-orders a shoe is guaranteed a pair, which also sounds like a pretty good solution. In a perfect world, Nike supplies enough shoes on every release to make the majority or everyone happy. Adidas has actually done something fairly similar with Yeezys. By consistently dropping different colorways and silhouettes, they've lost their exclusivity, and as a result, resale on average has fallen far from what it used to be. Demand for these shoes themselves is still extremely high as they sell out on every single release. Obviously, I'm just a random individual, so I don't know about the internal processes at Nike, but I'm sure that their current strategy is better for their finances, so this solution is very unlikely to happen. The only other solution I can think of is people buying more reps to make a statement to Nike. But you could argue that this would just potentially lead to Nike putting more resources into stopping rep production and achieve nothing in the long run. In my eyes, the culture will only degenerate, or in the perspective of others shift, if nothing surrounding the factors affecting it changes. Of course, there are tons and tons of other really nice looking shoes that come from other brands, and some from Nike that aren't considered quote unquote hype and are easy to get, but I feel like over time this issue will just become more and more apparent. Change of course is inevitable, but it is sad to see people going to such extreme lengths just to get a pair of shoes that they like. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some random nigga with a microphone and an internet connection. You should take everything I say with a grain of salt. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or night as well. Take care.